I'll go first because I'm the least important. So my 5 albums: Usher's Confessions, Fear of a Black Planet, Public Enemy, Infinity, On High, Fall Out Boy, Crunk Juice, Lil Jon and Eastside Boys, Brandy. Brandy was
the Public Enemy album was number 6 on my list.
Oh,
honestly.
what? For real?
Yeah.
The Brandy album was the first tape that I had. So showing my age, we had cassette tapes, and my mom was like, "Okay, you're interested in music? Here's Brandy for you." And so it had.
So your mom was into Brandy,
and that's why I got the Brandy tape. So I Want to Be Down, Best Friend, Send 'Em in My Room. Like that was her first one, and it was full of great songs. Crunk Juice, that was when I was angsty in high school, baby. Like, you're not in your right mind state listening to Lil Jon. You are going through something and you want to feel aggressive and angry and just yell. And so every single song on Crunk Juice, you have to yell it to sing along to it. It was superb. It was great. Infinity, On High, Fall Out Boy. That was the album I listened to on my drive to college. I got a car my junior year, summer going in my junior year. And it was the first time I drove on the interstate, first time my parents weren't around, first time I drove to Tuskegee on my own. Infinity, On High was on loop I had the 6-disc changer. Didn't go to the other 5 discs. I just kept it on Infinity, On High. Fear of a Black Planet, Public Enemy, that was my dad's. So anytime he picked us up from school, he'd be blasting that, and we'd sit there and listen to that militant-ass album. And so that's part of why I am the way I am. And I think Confessions might be my favorite album of all time. I loved that album. I also had Usher's My Way. That was the second album I got, or the second cassette tape I got was My Way, and so I was a big Usher fan. You gave me Confessions, and I just like, oh, this is it. We can stop making music now. Usher hit the pinnacle. I love that album.
What's interesting to me is like all of these are, 15 years or older. Like there's not anything current. My list is the same. Like there's nothing really current on my list. I haven't found an album in the last 5-10 years that I've listened to like nonstop.
Born Center was close, and Born Center. What was the Good Kid, Mad City, Humble? Both of those were close for me. But once you get a certain age, you're made at that point, right? So once you
stop listening to new music, really.
Yeah, once you get about 20, you are what you are. That doesn't mean great music isn't constantly being made. It doesn't impact you the same.
But that's why like 80s on 8 exists on the stereo. Like they have stations for everybody of every age, and you can listen to the time. I was thinking about that one day, like. The DJs on the 80s on 8 station are the original MTV VJs. And that guy, Mark Goodman, has been introducing Hungry Like the Wolf once a day for the last 50 years of his life. Like for some of those people, you're just stuck in that time period. Like that's what you do. Julie Brown, she's the host on the 90s station. She's probably introduced the Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way, every day. So I don't know. Anyway, Fish, you got a list?
I did.
We didn't do a graphic for you.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did. Awesome.
Thriller, Michael Jackson. Joshua Tree, U2.
Okay.
Flesh and Blood.
Here we go.
Poison. Sinatra Live at the Sands. Frank Sinatra. And then Cracked Rear View, Hootie and the Blowfish.
Okay, first of all, I thought Pink might be on your list.
I thought about Pink being on the list, but didn't really there's not a defining moment, I don't think, or it didn't shape me.
Okay.
But these others did. Very close to my list, but not making the list, was Purple Rain and Neil Diamond Live in America also.
Okay.
Sinatra Live at the Sands, it was right after I saw Frank Sinatra for the first time in concert, and it just kind of changed my world as far as listening to music.
Yeah.
Because I started listening to swing and big band music after that, and that's my favorite one is Sinatra's Live at the Sands. Poison, that was the first concert I ever went to.
Really?
Yeah. And it was awesome at the St. Louis Arena.
Nice.
Yeah, Poison.
Who else was on the bill with them?
Dokken opened up.
Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I was like 15, I guess, at the time. So Poison, shout out.
It shaped you.
It did shape me. U2 was like my favorite band. And one of my favorite moments for U2 was when I lived in Las Vegas and I was moving to St. Louis. And I had tickets to U2 in Vegas, but they wanted me to move on a specific day, so I couldn't go to the concert, which really sucked. But as we're sitting out on our porch late at night, we heard this music, And we were like, what is that? So we were like, it sounds like U2. Let's go drive down to the stadium. And we drove the stadium. Sam Boyd Stadium was like a mile away.
Yeah.
And we drove down to the stadium, and U2 was practicing for their concert because Vegas was their first show of the tour. So they came in like a week early and were practicing. And we sat there in the parking lot and listened to the whole concert. And there were like maybe 15 cars in the parking lot. By the end of the week, there were like 500 cars in the parking lot.
Everybody figured it out.
And Bono's like, hey, shout out to everybody in the parking lot. And woo! So I didn't get to go to the concert, but I did get to go to their warm-up, which was pretty cool. But so U2 was awesome for me. Michael Jackson's Thriller, just one of the all-time greats. Yeah. And, it was probably my first real favorite, played over and over and over and over again album, real true album. That I ever had in my life.
How did you play it?
You put it on a record player.
Oh, so you had the record.
Yeah.
Nice.
The actual album.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you still have it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Does it still work?
I mean, you got to have a record player.
I mean, we could go get it's a record
my
shop
daughter
right
actually has a record player,
My son
which is
has a
pretty
record
cool
player.
because vinyls are now back.
Yeah, vinyl's cool again.
Yeah. So my daughter's got all the big vinyls.
Other Jacob has one.
Oh, yeah?
They sell them at like Walmart, Target.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I still have it. And Thriller, Michael Jackson, awesome. One of the greats of all time. I can't imagine. It's got to be at the top of the Apple list. And then Cracked Rear View, Hootie and the Blowfish. I discovered Hootie and the Blowfish, so I kind of have an affection for them.
Wait, what do you mean?
You saw them in a bar somewhere?
Well, I saw them on David Letterman.
Yeah.
And I became a huge fan before anybody else. Thus, discovered.
Yeah.
Cracked Rear View and Hootie and the Blowfish.
Here we go.
First concert I ever went to was Public Enemy, Run DMC, and DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
DJ Jazzy
all together.
Nice.
In Atlanta?
In Atlanta, when I was like, middle school or something. I don't remember. But that's the first concert I ever went to. And I was like, wow, this Public Enemy was pretty cool. Like, this is interesting. And got the albums.
Was Terminator X still there? They were doing the...
And Professor Griff and all that. Yeah. So years later, I played instruments in high school. I was in bands, and I was a music writer before I got to do sports writing, which is kind of what I wanted to do. But I understood music and understood production and all that stuff. And I met Professor Griff at a thing. Chuck D was one of the first interviews I did. He lived in Atlanta. And I worked for the paper in Atlanta, and Professor Griff gave me his business card and it had the little Public Enemy logo on there. It was great. All right, but I left them off my list, even though they're one of my favorite groups, and that's one of my favorite albums. My albums also begin with Thriller. Nice. That was the first album I bought with my own money. Tape. I had the tape. Yeah, and I used to listen to it all the time. And it's interesting now, like in retrospect, at the time I was like, oh, these songs are fun. But now knowing that Quincy Jones produced it and knowing like all the musicians that played on it and everything, you're like, wow, this is actually like pretty incredible top to bottom. And the fact that it's popular is just cool too. But, and then like with music, like you need like an older brother or friend or somebody, older sister, somebody who can like teach you what's cool, when you're a kid, like, cause you don't know like what's cool. And I had a cousin who was into Sting, and she gave me the Dream of the Blue Turtles album, which was his first solo album after the Police broke up. And as it turns out, on that album, Sting has all these people playing on there, like Branford Marsalis, Daryl Jones, who became the bass player for the Rolling Stones, Omar Hakim, who was the drummer for Weather Report. And then I found out about the Police. I found out about new wave music. I found out about all this stuff that was popular. Through that album, basically. Songs in the Key of Life, I think that's the greatest album ever made. It's a double album. It's got so many amazing songs on it. And Stevie Wonder wrote the whole thing, produced the whole thing, and played almost every instrument on the whole thing. And he's blind. Like
Allegedly.
Whatever. Even if he could see, that would be the greatest album of all time. The fact that he's blind on top of all that takes it to the next level. You guys know, I've talked about this a million times here. Outkast is my favorite group of all time. I could have done 5 Outkast albums on this list because all their albums to me are incredible. Aquemini is the one that I kind of go back to more and more. That or Stankonia probably, but Aquemini was the one that really, it was their third album. It came after AT Aliens, which kind of set them up as two separate things. And then Aquemini really was like, hey, it defined each of them in a way. I think, and the production of that album is amazing. It's got singing, it's got music, it's got George Clinton, it's got like all this crazy stuff on that album, but it works. It's like such a good album. And then this last album, I got into Branford Marsalis through Sting. And when my son was born, at night, you know, you play lullabies for the kids, right? And you're like, we need music to help them go to sleep. I was like, I'm not going to just play random stuff. I want to play something cool. And so Branford and his father made this album, Loved Ones. It's just a piano and a saxophone, and it's them doing 12 songs that all have a woman's name in the title. But it's pretty quiet and relaxing. And so that's been my son's album he listens to going to bed every night since he was born. And so it's helped shape me. It's helped shape my son. And now my son is like, oh, is that Branford? Like, he knows the music. He understands cool music too. So
The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hart, live every weekday at 8 a.m.